There are an awful lot of catchphrases throughout the Skylanders franchise, so I thought it right to create a top 10 list counting down the 10 best catchphrases that this franchise has to offer. Here guys, this is Ignite the Fire, and welcome back to a brand new top 10. For the first time since the end of hashtag Top 10 Thursdays, which, like I said before, they're still going to be top 10s, just not necessarily on a Thursday. Ironically, though, this one just happens to fall on a Thursday, so I suppose you can call it hashtag Top 10 Thursdays, but for the last time. Regardless, as for the list at hand, it's none of them the top 10 Skylanders catchphrases, as I alluded to earlier, and so what this list is based on is, how awesome the catchphrase is, how well it's said or conveyed, and whether it's intimidating or not, because the whole idea for Skylanders catchphrase is to stir up fear in their opponents before they land in the Skylands, or at least that's what the one of the story scrolls from Skylanders Spyro Adventure was alluding to when it came to the catchphrase's purpose. So that's why I'm asking, does it fit the character? Is it awesome to say out loud? Is it awesome in general? Is it intimidating? And also, how good are the animations that go alongside it? With that all being said and done, we're going to get into the honourable mentions before we hit the main top 10 list right here. As for our honourable mentions, we have Igniter, Rattleshake, and Drobot. And I know what you're thinking. What? Igniter didn't make the main list? Are you feeling alright, Ignite? And the answer is yes, I am feeling alright. I just didn't put Igniter on the list purely because his catchphrase is a bit basic. But what makes it so awesome is his tone in which he strikes it in. He sounds very knight-like, with honour as he speaks it out loud and stuff. And it does add a lot of intimidation to the catchphrase. Because above all, it's a bad catchphrase, but it's said very, very well, which is why I love my boy Igniter right there. But then when it comes to the other two, their catchphrases are a whole lot better, but just not good enough to make the top 10 list itself. So I love the pun that Rattleshake has with Snake My Day. But apart from the pun, it doesn't really do much, but it does at least represent the character with the fact that he does have a lot of snake-based attacks. But apart from a good representation of the character and a good pun, it's not really that great of a catchphrase. And then when we come to Drobot, his catchphrase is very intimidating because it's blink and destroy. And he says it very robotically, which really sets in the tone of a character, really represents the character really well, and above all, is very intimidating, because he needs to do something so effortless to not just kill you, but destroy you. You are not coming back from that. Like, if you're defeated, you can come back from that, but being destroyed, there is no coming back from that, and Drobot can do it to you so effortlessly that you may as well just give up. Like, a catchphrase like that is so intimidating, and yet so fitting. It's so awesome, which is why he's made the honourable mentions here. If there was a top 10 list, if it was a top 13 list, then Drobot would be 11, Rattleshake would be 12, and Igniter would be 13. But regardless, let's move on to the actual top 10 list right here. For number 10, we have none other than your boy, Double Trouble. Now, how can you not like a catchphrase like that? It's simple, and yet awesome. The thing is that gibberish like this really suits Double Trouble's character. Now, when I found out that all the Skylanders were getting voice lines from Giants onwards, all I could think is, shut up, I want my gibberish back. And then Double Trouble comes along, and his catchphrase is still kind of gibberish based. And I love that about him. It really adds to his personality, because let's admit it, he's kind of a nut. And that catchphrase really adds to that factor. But regardless, apart from the catchphrase really suiting this guy, it's also extremely fun to say, no matter how you say it. Boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka. That was a bit similar to the first time, but regardless, you get my point. It's incredibly fun to say and even more fun to listen to. So that's why Double Trouble has made number 10 on the list. For number 9, we have none other than Spitfire. Now, what makes that catchphrase so great is that he's saying "fuel the fire," accompanied with some awesome animations that really help his personality to stand out. Because he has a lot of energy. That energy can be described as fuel, and so he's going to use the energy to, stir up mischief and create fires and stuff that will destroy his enemies. So that's the intimidating part to it, and it shows that he has a lot of energy as well, and that's also proven by the animations. But the best part about that fuel part of the catchphrase is that it has double meaning, because it not only shows that he has lots of energy that he's ready to use against his enemies, but it also shows the fact that he drives vehicles and he's actually really good at it, being a supercharger and all. So the double meaning of the use of fuel to show his huge amounts of energy, and the fact that he's a really excellent supercharger driver, really helps this guy's catchphrase stand out. Number 8 on the list, we have none other than Washbuckler. Now, what's so great about a catchphrase like that, I hear you asking? It doesn't really help his personality stand out, and neither does for animations. Well, what's so great about that is for irony in the fact that he doesn't have 8 legs on his figurine, he actually only has 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there. So the fact that he only has 6 legs, despite the fact that his catchphrase is 8 legs and no pegs, is highly ironic to me. Now, if you count as both of his arms, he actually has 8 limbs. Therefore, his catchphrase should be 8 limbs and no pegs, but that catchphrase is nowhere near as catchy as you can hear from the sound of my voice. So thank heavens that wasn't the case, or else it definitely wouldn't have been number 8 on this list, to say the least. For number 7, we have Flipwreck. Now, what I love about this catchphrase is the fact that he says making waves when in true fact he's actually utilising them, because if he was to make a wave, then waves are made with air, so that would make him an air Skylander, not a water Skylander. Therefore, his catchphrase makes no sense and really fits in with the Skylander's theme of not caring about science, I suppose. And this is basically just an on-running joke from my experimental stream, but I love the joke so much that I thought I may as well pop it in here. But one thing I do like is that the developers also kind of picked up on the fact that his catchphrase actually references something that the air does rather than what the water does. So he actually put an air-based symbol on his little buckle there, which I do like. So yeah, the catchphrase being ironic and the fact that it feels like it's for a completely different element, and then yet they still put the element, that specific element which references on the figure anyways, really adds to the depth of this guy's personality as a whole. And above all, I love this guy for it. So number 7 on the list, we have Flashwing. Now here is why I like that catchphrase.
Thanks to the help of Miss Flashwing right here. Okay, I'll be better, okay?
Yeah, as you can see, her catchphrase makes for plentiful of puns when I use my camera's torch to blind people with the light. But regardless, apart from puns, it's also ironic how she says the word light in her catchphrase, because it's almost as if she predicted an entire new element 2 years before it was officially revealed or even planned for. So I suppose that's pretty impressive too, which is why this little catchphrase here is made number 7 on the list. For number 5 on the list, we have Ambush. Now, what makes this catchphrase so cool is the fact that it takes advantage of nature, as Ambush is in fact a life element Skylander, and then he also adds in the reaping part, which shows that he will easily defeat his enemies, making it very intimidating, and it also adds for irony on top of that, with the life Skylander talking about something that an undead Skylander would normally talk about, the opposing element to life nonetheless. So yeah, I suppose the irony and the threat on top of that really makes this guy an awesome sight to behold when it comes to his catchphrase, at least. For number 4 on the list, we have Fiesta. Now, I love this catchphrase for several reasons. First of all, the music in the background is a really good way to relax you, and it really gets you pumped up to play as this guy, which really adds fun to his catchphrase, to say the least. And then there's also the fact that the catchphrase in itself really reflects in this guy's culture that he represents, that being Mexican culture, because of course, you know, Mexicans speak Spanish, and Fiesta is Spanish for party, so the fact that he puts party in his catchphrase not only shows that he's self-aware, but also helps represent his culture as a whole. So the fact that it's really personality blending, and the fact that it's really good at helping you relax and get pumped up for the upcoming battles, really makes this guy's catchphrase a sight to behold. Number 3, we have Scratch. Now, what makes Scratch's catchphrase so great is, for similar reasoning to Fiesta's, is the fact that her catchphrase really helps represent the culture that her figurine represents. So, of course, her figurine represents Egypt, with the fact that she's a cat that were worshipped like gods and the color scheme and all that. And so basically in Egyptian culture, cats are associated with luck, so Scratch is associating herself with luck, just as the Egyptians associate cats with luck nonetheless. And not to mention, the animations add authenticity and relatability to her, because, you know, in her animation she's acting like a normal, authentic cat would act. So for those of you who've owned cats in the past as pets would really be able to relate to that behaviour and stuff. And so overall, her catchphrase is a great representation of her culture that she represents, and her animations are playful, just like a cat's pet in real life would be. What, we have two Skylanders right here? Isn't that kind of cheating? And to that I say, yes it is. But these two Skylanders are only here for the fact that they share a story, because basically it's an on-running joke from one of Gabe's streams where I got Bouncer's catchphrase mixed up with Tough Luck's, because I thought Bouncer's catchphrase was deal with it, whereas that's actually Tough Luck's catchphrase, and that's purely because it's an on-running joke that I constantly get these guys' catchphrases mixed up because of how similar they are, with the fact that they both have deal within their catchphrases. However, there can only be one for the number 2 slot, so I am not cheating to answer your previous question. And so, for one receiving that slot is Tough Luck. Now, the reason Tough Luck won out over Bouncer is because her catchphrase kind of tells a story. Just imagine this: you're going into a store, you see Tough Luck on one of the shelves, you're like, "Mum, I really want to get that, can you please get it for me?" And she's like, no, tough luck if you don't have your own money to get it. And then you're like, "Oh, but you literally just said the name, please, you have to get it for me now." And then she's just like, "You're not getting it, deal with it." And then you're like, "Oh, now you just said a catchphrase." So there's your whole story right there. Your parents say to you tough luck, and then you either have to deal with it, or if they say you have to deal with it. But regardless, that's how conversations normally end with parents when things don't go your way. So the fact that Tough Luck kind of tells a story with her catchphrase is so awesome that I had to put it at number 2 nonetheless. For number 1 on the list, we have Funny Bone. Now, how can you not like a catchphrase like that? First of all, it's extremely punny with the fact that he has a bone to pick, although he's a skeleton dog-based thing, so it's ironic how he uses the word bone in his catchphrase, although he's made of bones, quite literally. And then there's the fact that those animations were awesome. It really adds a nice agile side to Funny Bone, and that's what makes it so threatening, the fact that he is so agile and so powerful. And on top of that, not only does his animations emphasize his threat, but so does what he actually says. "I have a bone to pick" shows that he, you know, he's mad at someone, but he keeps it vague because he doesn't say you or anything, so it makes enemies think that it could be any one of them, which adds a sense of threat to every single one of them at once. So the fact that he is so threatening to his enemies and so adorable at the same time with those dog-based animations, and the agility that he shows while doing it really shows his strength. And then what he actually says, like I said before, is not only intimidating but also ironic with the fact that he mentions about bones despite the fact he's made of bones. But with that all being said and done, now that you have gotten to the end of the countdown list with Funny Bone taking the number 1 slot, this top 10 is coming to an end. We'll be seeing you in the next one, but until then, peace.